Continuing coverage coming up at the bottom of the hour. Breaking news as it happens. News Radio WTAM 1100.
The following material may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, see? Well, I'm not going to talk dirty or anything. Broadcasting live from the cultural void of Independence, Ohio. 578-1100 in the classic 216 area code if you'd like to reach the program. Big voice, man. Come on along now. And who am I? And who are we?
The Rick Gilmour Show on News Radio WTAM 1100.
Absolutely. Well, I'm not going to talk about the Browns because I generally don't talk sports, and I really don't know what else there is I could say. I was just mentioning to someone earlier, I said, it seemed like a great high school game. And they said, no, it seemed more like a college game. Well, take your choice either way. Wasn't a very good game. I just really debated in my own mind, in all reality, just to mention something about the game at all. I just wondered, is it really is Butch Davis really going to stay until the end of the season? And that's what they claim. I don't know. Is that gonna help anything at this point? Everybody I talk to that seems to know more about these things than I do says the idea is that we need a line, and the quarterback can dance around behind the line all he wants, and that's that. This was odd news. Did you hear about Dick Ebersol? In a plane crash in Colorado on a charter plane, 2 people killed, 3 survivors seriously hurt, including Ebersol. Rescues searching for a 6th person. Ebersol's wife, actress Susan St. James, was not on the plane. Open Phones America this evening. There's no word on what caused the crash. Shake up in the news industry. You know, this is something that really bothers me, and I don't know why. I shouldn't even watch the stupid show if it bothers me. You ever watch the 700 Club? Now, here's Lee Webb with the rest of the news. Oh, before I get started, let me turn my cell phone off so it doesn't make noise on the air. There we go. But they play it off like it's real news. Well, it's not real news. It's this completely Christian right-wing spin on the news. They said Dan Rather's retiring, and of course you get Pat Robertson on there. He'll chuckle. You know, he's always got his take on things. Dan Rather seen by less than 6% of households, according to CBN. Is that true? And I watch Dan Rather. Tom Brokaw's retiring. I watch him too. There's lies, there's damned lies, and then there's statistics. Now, I really find it distressing that I think most of the people that watch the 700 Club are old people. So when it says CBN News, they're just a little addled or confused, and they think they're watching real news, where it's all spun completely to the conservative religious right. Am I the only one? Have you noticed that? And it's distressing to me. People complain enough about Dan Rather anyway. Gee, he's pretty liberal, isn't he? Well, I suppose a bit. It's just a balance. Some people claim that the entire news media in general is pretty liberal, isn't it? Well, I guess not CBN News. So, should I hush up because that's the balance the other way? Is what they're reporting news? Speaking of news, I was watching TV3 News, and Jeff Maynor asked about which Blues brother, because they were talking about the House of Blues opening tonight down there on Euclid. Keen, do I have your attention in the other room there, too? I just want to make sure everybody hears this. He wanted to know which was your favorite Blues brother, Jake or Elmo? That's Jake and Elwood, just in case you were unsure. That would have been a good program, wouldn't it? Broadcasting live from the House of Blues. Chris, from what I saw this morning, I was watching Eileen McShay. And she was down there, and they were still putting finishing touches on it, so I suppose it's a work in progress. And this was also interesting. Perhaps later I'll read for you my list of jobs versus prisons. Should you have a job or should you go to prison? I bumped into a very nice gentleman who apparently works at the Supermax down there. So, hey to everybody at the Supermax. He says, Rick, you got 3,000 fans. For those who don't know, the Supermax is a prison. And then I guess that's where they got the death row down there, too. Apparently they listen to me as well, so I should do a show from down there. Rick Gilmour, live from death row. Wonder if they'd let me eat in population. You know, get that metal tray and eat that same slop that everybody else has to eat. Let me sneak in my briefcase with all the pills in it. Play Johnny Cash songs. I thought that'd be interesting. How about we get everybody right now down? I'll get myself and everybody at the Supermax in trouble. We could have everybody start chanting. All 3,000 listeners at the Supermax prison. Hey, hey, DNA, prove I did it anyway. Hey, hey, DNA, prove I did it anyway. Hey, hey, DNA, prove I did it anyway. Now I'll leave you to your own devices. You can carry on. I don't know if they'd let me eat in the prison population. Not that it'd worry me. I think I'd be more worried. I'm not worried about the prisoners. They're apparently fans of the program. I think I'd be more worried about eating the food. Lousy, cruddy food. Larry, you're on the air. Hello? Larry, are you there? WTAM 1100, you're on the air.
Hey, Gilly, it's Ken in Chagrin.
Hi, Ken.
How are you tonight?
Oh, okay.
Hey, funny, or not funny, but poor Dick Ebersol. I mean, he was one of the survivors, right?
Yes.
Well,
at least so far, you know what I mean? I mean, the details keep coming in, but apparently he was seriously injured.
Well, ironically, he was featured on E! Entertainment cable channel this weekend as one of the 50 best-kept Hollywood secrets. Were you aware that he successfully bid on the right to learn from Carly Simon who the male inspiration for You're So Vain was?
Yeah, I do remember that now that you mention it. I'd forgotten all about it.
Well, this could be a way for her to, since she's not selling albums anymore, she might want to sell The Secret again, so if she...
since he's got The Secret?
Yeah, he had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, so supposedly not even his wife knows, what Carly told him, so...
Well, that's an interesting take on it. I really don't think she'd be sabotaging chartered planes, would she?
Well, I don't know. Let's ask Norm. He might know.
I don't know. Well, somebody must know. We'll find out if he survives.
Very odd. Very odd. So.
Well, anything else on your mind?
Not a heck of a lot. It's kind of slow. I'm like you. Football, what are you going to do?
It's always slow the last night of a holiday weekend. I'm used to that.
Yeah, it's nice, fat, take a nap, get ready to go back to work weekend, so.
Yeah, I may end up following up where I left off the last time, talking about some of the new cars coming out as well, because I always find that kind of interesting. Not that I'm going to go out and buy one.
Supplying the auto industry, it's a big part of the racket. They, it's good for our business because they gear up and build stuff for the first, last 3 months of the year or the first 3 months of the model year. So it's always a pretty prosperous period. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to move all these new cars and sustain our, economic upshoot that we've all enjoyed the last few months.
I was watching TV and they had some Chevy commercial on there. Apparently, if you buy some high-end Chevy trucks or that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, Suze Orman saying, you'll get the guaranteed interest rate the next time you buy a car?
No, this one was they'll give you a free Cavalier or a free Avio.
Jeez.
So you get 2 for 1.
Jeez, that's taken something from Kia, I think, was doing that.
Well, what's funny, I thought back on it and I thought, I recall when I was a wee little lad hearing about people that if you went out and bought a new Cadillac, they'd give you a BMW Isetta.
Jeez.
Now, if you're familiar with the BMW Isetta, it's the car that Urkel drove on Family Matters.
Yeah.
No one that was buying a new Cadillac was going to be driving a BMW Isetta. In fact, frightfully few people wanted to drive one anyway. I mean, you had to open the front door and the steering column swings out of the way, and then you climb into this little sardine can and pull the door shut. And I read somewhere years ago in Mechanics Illustrated or something like that, they said one used BMW Isetta could give you more trouble than an entire parking lot full of used-up New York City taxi cabs.
It's harder to jam all the stuff in a small space than a big space, as I'm sure you know.
Well, they had a rubber drive wheel to somehow connect the transmission or something, you know. What? A rubber drive wheel?
Not a lot of people getting experience fixing those things.
So I imagine anybody wants to go out and, if you're going to go out and buy one of those brand new Avalanches or something, and then you're going to get a new Cavalier thrown in, it's probably because they're going to stop making the Cavalier because the Cobalt's replacing it. Or the Avio is kind of cheap anyway. But I don't imagine they're coming down much off sticker. But what you have to buy is a 2004 because they're trying to move them out, of which you could probably get enough money discounted off of the vehicle to go out and buy a new Avio anyway. But they're not going to tell you that in the commercial, are they?
So it's a good hook for the people that don't think that way.
Yeah, I guess.
So,
all right.
Let's hope they do well. I'd like to have things chug along at a good rate after the Christmas season and New Year's and all that. So
well, we'll see how it goes.
Let's hope you get on the air more in 2005. Any way for us to, put in our 2 cents on that?
I have no clue.
Come on. Also, hey, have you thought about putting out the best of Gilly on CD?
Yeah, I have, as a matter of fact. I was looking through some of my stuff I've gotten. There was a call I hadn't played in a long, long time. You remember the Jenny call?
No.
Jenny was that old lady that called, and I made fun of her, and then she started crying about the pedophile priests. And
Yeah.
Then I had to talk her down. And it was a great phone call. It's just it doesn't tie into much of anything I was talking about, except that I just found a wire story about a anti-communist evangelist. So maybe it'll tie in there somehow later.
Well, I think there'd probably be a market for a Best of Gilly CD. I mean, limited to the folks that listen to you, of course, but...
No, I've got every tape of every show I ever did, almost. I just throw them in a box. So I suppose if somebody wanted to wade through all those things...
What format are you recording in?
I record everything on cassette tape, and then, of course, we can transfer it to anything we want to. We have the technology here.
You're flipping down at the air. You're doing it down at the station. I gotcha.
Right. Yeah, I just have a boombox in the other room, and I just pop a tape in and start her up, and I just air-check the program just to see how it goes. And long ago, I gave up listening to them unless the program was really dicey and questionable, because I thought, I know what I said, and it sounded fine, so don't worry about it, and move on with my life, that kind of thing.
Well, old recordings of Gilly are getting me through long drives to Macomb, Illinois lately, so where I get out into farm field, and it's either, religious radio or country music, which... can't really listen to commercial country music.
I'm not a big country music fan.
Yeah, you are. You like the real stuff, Johnny Cash, and,
You know what we got to get down here? I don't think we have any. Hank the Third. Because there's Hank Williams Sr., Hank Williams Jr., and then there's Hank the Third, who's doing alternative country stuff. That's pretty cool. So
he's pretty punked out.
Yeah, we should get some of that stuff.
Try to get you some of that.
I got to move.
Bye, Gilly.
All right, talk to you later, Ken. Triple applicant forecast from TV3 meteorologist Betsy Kling tonight. Upper 20s, currently 36 degrees in Cleveland, 36. And remember, Drudge Report live at 10 o'clock here on Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100. Mike Trivisonno.
So I'm watching you on the webcam, right?
You can't see me anyway. My head's behind the microphone.
I understand that.
You mean the perilous web design webcam?
So I got to ask a question.
Okay.
Did you go gay on us?
No, why?
Is that a purse you have?
Oh, that thing?
What is that?
That's my bag of tricks. I used to carry a briefcase, and I thought, well, I just throw things in this. I won this bag from a trivia contest or something, and so I never use it for anything except for throwing all my radio stuff in, and that way I can just throw it in the car. And, if you have a briefcase sitting in your car, then somebody might want to break in and see what's in it. Nobody's going to want to look at this fruity-looking bag, are they?
Well, that's what... I was bored.
Right.
So I click on our website.
Here, I'll move my microphone over so you can see my dashing new haircut.
Thank you.
All right.
And let me put my glasses on.
Okay.
So I look, and I says, look at this. Rick Gilmour must have women trouble. He went gay on us. He's got a purse.
No, that's a sign of my masculinity. What did they call it on Friends? Remember Joey had a clutch?
What is your hair, dark now?
Well, it's the way it's always been. Here, let me take my headphones off so you can see how short my hair. I cut it myself.
Well, I got about a 30-second delay here, you know.
All right, well, I can hear. I cranked up my headphones. I'm like Kevin Keane, you know. I'll be deaf someday, so I can hear you in my headphones anyway, even though I'm holding them away from the microphone, so, you know.
I swear you had a purse there. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it's not a purse, and it says Get Kiki. I know a girl named Kiki, but she's already been got. And so, okay, have we done the 30 seconds yet so I can put my headphones back on?
Yeah, put them back on.
All right.
Yeah. You got glasses on, too, huh?
I always wore glasses. Well, not always.
Yeah.
Well, we don't see each other often enough in the studio or something, you know?
No, I mean, the studio looks good.
Well, here's the deal. You know, when it comes to glasses, that was the kind of thing. Well, let me tell you a quick little story if you want to hear it. I had a drunken eye doctor, and he overcorrected one eye when I got contacts, and I went back to him and I says, what's up with the, I can see better out of one eye than the other? And he says, oh, I'm sorry, I overcorrected you. I go, well, then overcorrect the other one. He says, you'll get headaches. I says, I'm not getting headaches in the one eye. So he overcorrected him, and he told me I could wear my contacts for a week straight, even to sleep in, and then take them out and clean them. I did that for a couple of years, and then I ended up feeling like it was stuck to my eyeball or something, and I went back, and there was a new doctor, and he says, that guy told you what? He says, you've got, like, polyps inside your eyelid, and you can't wear contacts for, like, a month until they go away. And I thought, you know, the heck with it. I mean, glasses, I mean, it's like that laser surgery. Can they guarantee you're not going to get scar tissue later on?
I hope not. I had it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
And was it painless?
Yeah. Well, no, it felt like I had sand in my eyes for about a week.
And then did it work?
No.
I mean, you still have to wear reading glasses because it won't correct that
Well,
hardening.
that's what I had it for, but it corrected it for a while, and then now I need glasses again, so.
You know what I got, a friend of mine gave to me? Apparently they're talking about trying to get rid of smoking in taverns and bingo halls and bowling alleys and all that again.
We should all quit smoking anyway.
I know we should, but it's a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, so apparently there's going to be a meeting on Wednesday, December 1st at the Cloverleaf Lanes at 5619 Brecksville Road at 3 p.m., and they're going to have a bunch of speakers from Toledo bar owners that beat this thing.
You know, I was just thinking when you brought that up, how are we going to build stadiums if we get rid of cigarettes?
And I thought of something else because I thought of me and you.
Yeah.
Did you hear the latest out of Peter Lawson-Jones?
No.
He says we can build a convention center in Cleveland, and you know how we're going to pay for it?
Oh.
A casino.
Really?
Yeah.
What a novel idea.
Yeah, I don't think you and I have even thought of that, have we?
I haven't mentioned that on the air one time.
Not me neither. Never brought it up. I thought, wow, it's so novel. Maybe Peter went to Wheeling or something and got an idea.
These genius politicians sit and listen to talk show hosts, and then they come up with ideas.
Yeah, you and and it's funny. That's true too, because I've done Sunday shows and heard the same talk on Monday. You know, I hear all of a sudden somebody's got this great idea, and I'm thinking, well, you know, what, the TV news people, you know, you get somebody on there, one of the people, the commentators, or one of them people. I think they're listening to us.
So they actually had the idea of bringing in a casino to build a convention center.
Yes, and they said that's how we can pay for it.
You know what? Well, I don't know why I never thought of that.
Me neither.
Well, you've been mentioning that for 5 years on the air.
I've been going on and on right along with you because it seemed like a great idea, and then there's people that'll say, oh, it's bad, and you know, it's never going to happen until we get rid of Bob the Jellyfish Taft.
You know, there's only a few people. You want to hear a theory here?
Yeah.
There's only a few people that control the land in Cleveland. You know that, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And if we mention them, we'll be fired.
Exactly. So, my theory is, without mentioning any names, okay?
Right.
They put Mayor Jane Campbell in there so the city would die, okay? Because the city's basically dead.
Ladybug Jane Campbell, the queen of the flying hubcap.
I mean, if you drive down Euclid Avenue, it looks like Baghdad.
I heard Aykroyd say, did you hear him in the news? Aykroyd said, well, it's so nice to have the House of Blues come into an area that's rising from the ashes or something. And I thought, maybe the House of Blues is rising from the ashes, but everything else looks like Fallujah.
Yeah, they were bragging about their dressing rooms. That's why they're so happy.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but anyway, so they're letting the city die, and they're doing that for a reason. Now, I don't know. I'm not sharp enough to figure that out yet, but you'll figure it out.
Oh, I've got it figured out. I was just afraid to go on the air and spout it because, again...
But you'll see when casino gambling comes in here, who makes the money. And then that's how you'll figure it out.
It's public knowledge, though, that you could go onto a website and find out who owns what parcels of land, unless it's hidden.
Yeah, I understand that. But what I'm saying is See, the right people haven't been approached yet by the casino gambling, okay? And when those right people are approached and they can make all the money, then you'll get casino gambling in Cleveland.
You know who I'd approach?
Who?
Spitzer.
Yeah, he's tried that already.
I know, but try him again. He's got the cash.
Yeah, well, obviously he wasn't the right person.
Well, maybe what we have to do is wait until all those parcels of land are so devalued that then somebody else that's considered the right person can gobble everything up for nothing.
Because everything revolves around money in this country. Everything. You know, this is what I try to tell people all the time. You know, they're looking at politicians, they're looking at laws, they're looking at issues. I mean, you know, people that are way left and people that are way right and people that are in the middle and people that are independents, okay? There's nothing to do with everything revolves around money. Money. Everything, that's what, the key to everything is money. That's what all the decisions are made on. That's why they're made. You know, I don't want to get into a lot of things, but everything revolves around money. Now, you're going to see something very unique happen pretty soon. Just pay attention, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because what's happening, have you been paying attention to the U.S. dollar?
A bit.
It's falling like crazy.
I know.
Okay.
The yen's going up and all
Yeah,
that.
well, now what? Now something very unique is going to happen to prop up that U.S. dollar. Now, I don't know what it is, but they'll come up with something. Watch and see. Watch and see. Because if the United States dollar crumbles, the world basically crumbles.
You know, it's funny when you mentioned money, because a friend of mine said to me, he says, Rick, I look at your problems that you have in your life, and money would solve 95% of them.
Well, it won't solve health problems, but...
I know. I mean, I'm thinking, you know, there's problems that it can't solve. However, there are a lot of problems that could. Like Pearl Bailey said. She said, honey, I've been rich and I've been poor, and rich is better.
I'll just leave you with this thought, okay?
All right.
You know how we supposedly kiss Saudi Arabia's ass?
Yeah.
There's a reason. You know how much money they have in the United States stock market?
Yeah.
If they ever were to pull it out, you know what would happen?
Yeah.
Well, so you have to once you let them invest in the economy, all right, now you got to kiss their ass.
I should look at my bag of tricks. I was given, a friend of mine gave me an article out of the Plain Dealer. It was now it's about, I don't know, 10 years old. But it talked about, and this is a touchy subject, how we give Israel money every year, and how we borrow it back and pay them interest on it.
Who knows that?
I mean, I'm thinking, how crazy is this economy?
Yeah, but I mean, it's all interwoven. It's all true. I mean, everything revolves around a dollar. You know, these gay marriage issues and these abortion issues and these Democratic issues and these Republican issues. You know what they are, Rick?
A smoke screen.
Diversions, exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
They're diversions, so is racism. That's why they'll never let racism die, because that's how you and me and everybody listening gets diverted.
And have you noticed that after 9/11, remember, we were all one people, all no matter what color, creed, race, religion, we were all one people for about 3-4 months until everything kind of got back to halfway normal, and then we all hate each other again.
Actually, it was about 3-4 hours.
Well, that was your program.
and then people were trying to get the dead Social Security numbers so they could use their credit cards.
You know, it's funny because I thought about that, and I thought, you know, a lot of what you watch on the news is a diversion, too. I mean, we occupy ourselves with, we got to read the morning paper, and they're stealing with both hands, and we don't even pay any attention.
Oh, no one cares. I mean, until you know, government's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The money is just being abused and wasted. There's an article in the Plain Dealer on the news every day about how money is wasted. And you know what? And then people say, well, this is a good candidate. Well, once they get in there, they got to play the political game or they get squished like a bug.
Triv, I got to run.
So just keep an eye on the United States dollar, Rick.
I will.
Something's going to happen.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It's Mike Trivisonno, heard weekdays at 3 p.m. post-rush here on Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100. Now we got coverage of what in the world's happening. I'm Rick Gilmour, the thinking man's friend, and here's Cliff Bakley. And to my producer, Keen Connors. Well. Carl, I haven't talked to you in forever.
No, you haven't.
How you been?
Fine. How are you?
Great.
You know, Gilly's on the radio, and everything is all right.
There you go.
That's right. I went to visit our friend recently.
Our friend?
Yes, our friend, Mr. Negative.
Oh, the late Mr. Negative.
Yes, sir.
Dan Gianguzzo.
Yes, sir.
Was that his last name?
Yes, sir. You did it well.
Yeah, and he used to call, and he unfortunately passed away of an illness, and he wasn't very old.
No, he was not. He was 6 days shy of his 36th birthday.
34th, 36?
Yes. And, but I guess I sort of called to chastise you a little bit.
Sure.
In a loving way, because we both loved you. And, basically I turned him on to you, and he basically took it to another level.
He used to call me, that goes back 15 years ago.
Yeah.
College radio,
Yeah.
the little pinwheel station.
Right.
Oh, that went way back. In fact, I was just, speaking of radio,
Right.
I was just checking my email, and I keep getting more email. I assume you listen to this program once in a while.
Constantly.
Okay, now there's this Kennedy thing that I play at the end of the show.
Yes.
And people want me to do all the legwork for them. Who did it? And I'll give you this much. I mean, it took a college radio friend of mine. It took him over an hour to find it. Go on the computer and do a search for motorcade, and you're on your own. You know what I mean? Now find it yourself. You do some legwork too, or record the radio program. It's that simple.
Yeah, right, exactly. But why would they do that?
Well, I guess they'd just rather have me spoon feed the information to them.
Okay.
No, I don't want to.
Right.
I want people to listen to the show because they want to hear it because they can't find it.
The thing is, like Dan would, he had like his parents have a backlog of stuff. They go, hey, what are all of these tapes that he has in the basement? Can you help us? Do you want these? And I said, absolutely. He goes, do you know anybody who would want these? And I said, yeah, I think I do.
What are they, tapes of my shows?
It's tapes of your shows and shows from national things from like WABC and like Hannity and Combs and like things that he was able to get on, like Rush's show and like syndicated things that he was able to get on and talk to people.
Well, he has more patience than I do, because if I wanted to talk to Rush Limbaugh, I would try to get a hold of a hotline number.
And their broadcast quality.
Well, yeah, I would assume that those tapes would be worth something at least to you. To somebody, you never throw stuff like that out. I mean,
he's got stuff that he talked to you, and like the stuff like you got the Gillies on the radio, like you played sometimes in your like spin thing, like for your like bumpers.
Right. I don't know. King, can you check out? Do we still have that? There was that song where he's talking about cheesy chili. It's a guy singing, and Gillies on the radio.
Every now and then you play it like he looks like Steve Buscemi.
I don't know what it's labeled because I don't operate the board. So,
that is fabulous. I love that. You said, no, I don't. No, I don't. And I'm like, and but the thing is, though, he'd go he for this political thing, he'd have like for the presidential thing, he'd have that would have been great radio. He said, well, Gilly created, he's great radio. And, I thought, well...
it's funny because sometimes meeting listeners is not always a pleasurable experience.
No, I understand that, right.
But meeting you guys was, and he was always a faithful listener and caller.
Well, I never met you, but he met you face to face. And he goes, he always said, before he passed away, he goes, well, thank you for turning me on to you, or for turning him on to you. And he goes, I had to meet him. And I said, okay. And I said, well, thank God you didn't try and off the man, because then I'd have felt completely responsible.
Let me tell you a little quick story.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think of which one would be better. One was there's a little watering hole I go to, Shining Star, over once in a while, and I was in there and a listener showed up, and he didn't realize that the girl sitting next to me was the cook that worked there. And he sort of sidled in between us and wanted to have a beer with me. Well, I don't have a problem with that. Well, the problem was that he decided to have his second beer by reaching over and taking some of her money.
Oh.
And people saw him. And I thought, wouldn't that be just completely embarrassing as all get out if you go to see somebody that you listen to on the radio and then you're stealing from the cook? The other one was another quick story, was when I was on the small station, and that's been years ago. There was a guy named Pete who used to call. He apparently was a diabetic with no legs, and he would listen to the program. And when I got the boot from there, he called the general manager, and when I heard the story from another party, I was almost in tears. He said, I heard it from Pete, the guy, he's gone now as well, he's passed on. But he was in his 70s or late 60s, and he says, I called the general manager, Rick, and I told him that all I do all week long is wait for you to come on the radio, and you've killed my joy.
Oh, that's terrible.
And I thought, radio does mean a lot to people that are, like Pete was a shut-in, or, there are people out there that they want to hear. That's why they're so upset if they don't get to hear Trivisonno, or they don't get to hear me, or if things get bumped around. People are always in their car at a certain time, and they want to hear that person.
Right.
I'm the same way. I'll tune in the radio. Oh, Mike's on. Okay, it's 3 o'clock. I'll tune it in to see what he's talking about. And if he's not on, it's like, well, what the hell is this? Right. I want to listen to the people, and you get into a radio. I guess maybe it's a freak show of us people that love radio and used to listen to it under the covers when your parents told you you're supposed to go to bed.
Absolutely.
You turn into a freak show that just wants to listen to what you want to hear when you want to hear it.
Right.
I suppose with the advent of satellite radio and internet radio and all that, you'll just be able to, well, I know with internet radio, you could listen to a program and then stop it, and then either go back to the beginning and listen to it again, or listen to it later where you left off. I mean, I've got shows that somebody emailed me once and said they were stealing my national broadcasts when I was doing the weekend and floating them on something called Audio Galaxy.
Oh, no.
Apparently, Audio Galaxy, you can go back and find my pro pot smoking show that I did that covered 43 stations across the country or whatever. And I thought, well,
those were good. I enjoyed those when you were on the weekend. I couldn't get in.
Well, I know a lot of people couldn't get in, and again, here we are talking shop.
But that was good stuff.
I appreciate you checking in.
Hey, look, I just wanted to tell you that he enjoyed you and he loved you, and I miss him, and I hope you do too.
I do.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
All right, Carl.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, sport. I think he did that on purpose. If you call me Chief, I use one of the other champ, pal, buddy, or sport. I'm going to go to the toll-free, 888-723-WTAM. Keen, I got 50 cents as a stick from Dayton. What do you think?
I'll match you.
All right. Toll-free, you're on the air.
Yeah, hey, this is Eric from Lacrosse.
Well, I guess that was a push, huh? We thought you were going to be somebody else. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. Hey, I like it because I can sit up here in Lacrosse, Wisconsin, and listen to you guys on my computer.
Well, there you go. Just go to WTAM.com, and we're streaming audio. I get calls from Alaska. In fact, a buddy of mine drives a lot for his job, and he says he's picked me up in Dallas. Not real good, but he says I was crystal clear in Florida. I said, yeah, I know. I've been in Florida myself and listened to Wills and Coleman in the morning.
Yeah, well, it's like a lot of times I listen to Wills and Coleman in the morning when I'm doing my paper route up here. So I got a 200-mile paper route I do in the mornings.
Dear goodness, 200 miles?
Yeah.
I hope it pays okay.
Yeah, it does.
All right. What do you do, drive along and stick them in the mailboxes out of here?
Yeah, I stick them in the tubes.
So do you have do you have a car with right-hand drive, or do you just lean way over?
I just lean way over.
You should go out and buy an old postal vehicle.
Yeah, I should, but
they sell them at the post office.
Yeah. Well, my vehicle does it good enough as it is.
Well, and then again, by the time you buy something that the post office decides that they don't need anymore, it's probably used up.
Right. I just thought I'd let you know, you guys, I like having this stream like up here with you guys.
All right, sounds great. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye. Larry, you're on the air.
Hey, Rick, buddy, what's up?
Hey.
I got cut off before, man.
Well, I put you on and you didn't say nothing.
No, I do. I was saying that something must have happened. I was trying to acknowledge you.
Maybe you were in the potty or something.
No, I wasn't.
Okay, well, you're on.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving, buddy.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, too. You're on now.
Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Yes. It's a nice day to sleep in.
That's good. Did you eat with your family and that?
I was over there the night before. I'm not big into Thanksgiving. To me, it's just another day of the year. I mean, it's not like it's Christmas.
Right.
I mean, to me, Christmas, that's a holiday. And nobody's... I was trying to think of how many other people have ruined holidays for me. I proposed to my ex-wife on the 4th of July, so that screwed that up. A buddy of mine killed himself around Halloween in front of me. That screwed that up. New Year's Eve is amateur night. I don't even really like going out because everybody that never drinks decides that they're going to go out and whoop it up. Same thing with St. Patty's Day. Memorial Day is my birthday weekend. I like that weekend.
That's cool.
But it reminds me of giving away my dead dog, so then maybe that's screwed up too. And boy, how depressing.
That's the way it sounds, that's all.
Maybe I just need to forget about anything that's associated with it, because the reason that I did those things, or the reason somebody else did those things on certain days, was because they, well, you know, did them on purpose because it was a holiday.
Well, you can't control other people's actions and stuff, you know.
Well, people do that a lot too. You know, people they get depressed around the holidays.
I don't know why. I don't know why.
Well, I suppose if say a loved one is no longer with you, you know, you usually get together for the holidays and that sort of thing.
So like you missed your ex, right?
No. No, in fact, I heard she's under a 15-day house arrest.
Oh, God.
I said, I don't even want to know. You want to tell me, fine, and they didn't want to tell me, so I said, fine, I'm not going to ask.
I know I told you this before, Gilly, I want to hook up with you one day and on a Saturday and hook up, and we're going to have a few beers, man. I've been wanting to do that. We talked about it before.
Damn near every Saturday on the planet, I'm at Sokolowski's. Damn near every Saturday. So, I mean, I'm not hard to find.
I know. Well, I don't want to broadcast what kind of, you know what I mean? Keep your anonymity quiet, you know what I mean?
You got a computer, you can go on the webcam, you know what I look like, then you can come stalk me.
I know what you look like.
All right, well,
if I ever hook up with you and become better friends, trust me, I'm not going to go and say, hey, Rick does this, or Rick, you know what I mean?
Oh, well, I would trust that you wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't. I always said, man, you've been a nice guy. And like I told you, talking to you is like talking to an old friend. Back to radio, it's interesting that I bumped into maybe a couple of people in all the years of doing radio in Cleveland, which is I was born and raised here, and I never did radio anyplace else. But what I'm saying is, if they don't like you, they just avoid you, pretty much. And most people in Cleveland, they even if they don't like you personally on the radio or whatever, I mean, they're nice. People in Cleveland are fairly cordial. If they really hate your guts, I had one guy one time, I was down at Brown Stadium, and I think it was a preseason game, and I was, I think Cats on Holiday were playing next to me, and I was pretty much doing like little stick interviews, or what, I don't remember what I was doing, but some guy walked up and said, how do you like your president now? And spit on the ground. And stormed away because his buddy said, that's Rick Gilmour. I could see his buddy mouth that, and I was going to shake the guy's hand or whatever. I was going to be cordial. I mean, radio's radio. I'm not lying on the radio, but I'm not going to sit there and argue with you about the president all night long off the air because it's just not my cup of tea. Everybody that I know that I've turned your show on to them, and they heard you but didn't know who you were, they says, I know that show. That show is great. Why? How come he's not on much more? I says, I don't know. You have to talk to the guy who runs the radio station. I wish he was on more.
I guess. Well, so do I ask my mortgage broker. They wish I were on more, too.
You know, I meant to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Eileen McShay, did she get divorced?
I have no clue.
Because I don't see a wedding ring on her finger anymore.
Somebody emailed me and said, if you like Eileen McShay, she's soon to be divorced. And I thought, well, how would they know that?
Well, she's married to a cop, I heard.
I don't know that either. I don't delve into people's personal lives like that.
But she's a fine lady, boy.
Well, if I bumped into Eileen someplace, she knows who I am. I know who she is. If she wants to divulge any personal information, that's her business.
I like to bump into her on a...
Hey! All right, I gotta go. I gotta go.
Have a good one, buddy.
I already do. Triple Doppler forecast from TV3 meteorologist Betsy Kling. Tonight, cloudy. The winds will at least calm down out there. Low in the upper 20s. Tomorrow, let's look ahead, shall we? Sure. Mix of clouds and sun, lower 40s. Then Tuesday, rain possible, mid-40s. Currently, it's like the stock market. It was 36. Now it's 37. Goes up and down. Terry, you're on the air.
What's going on, man?
How you doing?
Been a long time.
Yeah. You called to rag on Trivisonno.
Oh, yeah, I always try to rag on Trivisonno. Actually, tell Trivisonno that we're doing a poker tournament. And you know how Trivisonno likes poker.
I know he likes pinochle. And you're telling him right now because I'm fairly certain he's listening.
Well, we're doing, and tell him Spatrino. That's the only word. Spatrino says I can win, and we're going at it.
Okay. Inside poop, we're narrowcasting, but, go ahead. It's a holiday weekend.
Rick, man, I'm the Terry from Fairview. I used to call you all the time.
Yeah.
I'm Carmen's friend, Dip.
Boy, it's old home week tonight.
Actually, you know what? The last guy that was talking with the Eileen McShay thing?
Yeah.
Her husband is a cop, and he's a good friend of mine, too.
So they're not divorced?
I don't know, but it gave me something definitely I have to look into.
Now this is turned into a soap opera. As the stomach turns.
We're going to get the scoop.
Yep. Yeah, I can talk about cars, I can talk about the news, and then we can talk about other people in the media's personal lives.
Well, I got to tell you, man, I just want to come back to Cleveland. I live in South Bend now. All we got is Notre Dame.
Oh, God help you. I know a friend of mine moved to Indiana, and he said it's just so boring. He said there's nothing to do. I've got some relatives that were in Indiana, and the last time I was in Indiana, me and a couple friends of mine went to Indianapolis for the Chrysler 300 show that was held at the racetrack. And it was 100 degrees out, and we were dying. There was nothing to do, so we went to a grocery store, and we walked around and ate all the free samples. Because
if you're into racing, man, this is the place to be.
Well, I mean, this was just for the 300 show. We took some pictures and stuff. Still got the pictures. Then we bought some Cost Cutter beer. I don't know, terrible cheap beer from Kroger's or something. And then we came back in a little car with no air conditioning. And then we stopped at, it wasn't Dragway 42. It was, I don't know where it was. Anyway, we stopped at some racetrack and they were having an all-night camp-over thing and there were fireworks flying everywhere. We sold that warm beer for about 3 times what we paid for it because where do you buy beer in West Salem or whatever at 1 a.m? You don't.
No, you don't.
In fact, I stopped at a place, sheesh. I think one time we were doing a road trip and we stopped in Lodi or Worcester or someplace, and the beer in the coolers had dust on it.
Oh,
we had the dust off the top. I mean, lots of dust. There was no born-on date on that thing. It had an anniversary date, I think.
Well, you none left. You got to take what you get.
Absolutely. I mean, that didn't stop us from buying the beer.
Good thing.
Yeah, well, you're out of beer, you're out of beer. Sounds like a commercial.
Well, I'll tell you, I just miss Cleveland. I wish I was back, and cannot wait to play poker with Triv.
All right. Talk to you later.
Take care.
All right, I'll see you. Have fun in Indiana. Is that an oxymoron? Have fun in Indiana. What is Indiana's state motto? We have any idea? I don't know. The boredom state. I don't know. Mark, you're on the air.
Hey, Gilly.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark and Greg from Sacco's last night.
Oh, yeah. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, pal?
Great.
Good. We were listening to your show. We just thought we'd give a call and say hello, and nothing big to talk about, but what's going on with you?
Oh, just a little of this, little of that. I was talking earlier about maybe I'll go down to the big prison down there in Mansfield and see if I can do a show from there.
Well, I'll tell you what, pal. I got you all hooked up.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Rick Gilmour live from death row.
Well, I don't know about how that is live from death row, but that sounds pretty good.
Well, either that or just go down there with a tape recorder and talk to some of these people.
We can do some of that. How you doing?
Great.
Good. Well, you're great show tonight. We just wanted to give a quick call, say happy holidays, and thanks for Sacco's last night. All
right. Hey, thanks for the beer.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night. Joe, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello.
You're on the air.
Oh, I didn't know it was my turn.
It's your turn.
Okay, how you doing, Rick?
Good. The floor is yours.
Okay, I just wonder what the theme was tonight because those 5 callers up to Trivisonno, that guy frankly put me to sleep. So I was trying to wonder what the theme was.
Well, we were trying to figure out if Eileen McShay is divorced or not.
Eileen McShay, she's a nice lady.
Yeah, she is a nice lady.
Listen.
No, there's absolutely no theme at all.
Hey, look.
I'm the Seinfeld of Cleveland radio.
Okay, I can see that. But Trivisonno, I hope he's listening.
I'm sure he is.
Guy is on 5 days a week. Tell him to please quit calling and staying on 20 minutes or taking other people's time.
Now, this is my program, and if I did not want to take Mike's phone call, I control the phones. That was my option. I don't have to put Mike Trivisonno on. I want to put him on.
Oh, you want to put him on?
Sure, we sit there and talk back and forth. And
Mike is cool. He's cool. I can never reach him, though.
Well, you don't know the super secret hotline.
Well, I need to reach that hotline.
Well, you ain't going to get it. You don't work here.
I'm going to rip him a new one if I can ever get in contact with him.
All right.
Me and Mike go along way long. I remember he used to call Peter J all the time. And one thing about it, I never disagreed with him.
All right, Joe. Joe, I got to run. Because I want to go to the toll-free. 50 cents says it's Dick from Dayton there, Keen Counters?
I'll run you back.
Toll-free, you're on the air.
Happy holidays, Rick.
Hey, we know it. Happy holidays, Dick from Dayton. How the heck are you?
I'm doing good. Hey, you know what?
Oh.
I just wondered, something I'm going to miss on CBS. I was a Dan Rather fan.
I'm a Dan Rather fan as well, and now they're going to say that he went away because of those false documents about Bush's military career, and I don't think that's the case. Dan Rather was covering the Kennedy assassination. I mean, he's been on forever.
He was great on that. I love all them people, you know.
And he went to Vietnam, and so did Brokaw. I mean, Brokaw's been around a long time. These guys, I mean, Brokaw, I saw him on TV last night, a couple nights ago. He says he's written 5 best-selling books. He's done this, he's done that. They send him all over the world. They send him to Iraq. And, Dick, I got to run. Bye-bye. And he said he just wants more time to do things that he wants to do on his own terms. Well, Dan Rather and Tom Brokaw, well, neither one of them are spring chickens. And I'm certain Brokaw was making $7 million a year 5 years ago. So if I had that kind of money, I'd want to do things on my own terms as well. More of the program, more of your phone calls about absolutely nothing, apparently. I want to talk about some of the new cars, too, as well, next hour. I'm Rick Gilmour, the thinking man's friend, and this is Cleveland's only news radio. We'll give you coverage of what in the world's happening, do a little business with you, and then right back at you on Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100.
The following material may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, that guy Joe from Akron. 16 area code is the phone number to reach the program, which is called what? And who are we?
The Rick Gilmour Show on News Radio WTAM 1100.
Open phones, America. Toll free 888-723 WTAM. My producer Keen said something to me. What were you saying in the break about the crossroads of America?
Oh, that's Indiana's
motto. That's Indiana's state motto.
Yes.
The crossroads of America. So it ought to just be someplace to drive through when you're going someplace else. I don't think there's any reason to go to Indiana except to go to the Indy 500, is there? Not that I have anything against Indiana. There's plenty of boring states. I suppose people in Indiana probably think Ohio's boring. We got lots of stuff going on. How about another reason to go to Indiana to see the Colts? They're doing pretty good. Peyton Manning, all that, right? That'd be a reason to go. I don't think anybody in Indianapolis was going to come to Cleveland to see the Browns.
No.
You know, just a wild stab in the dark there. Czar, you're on the air.
Hey, Ricky, how you doing?
Good.
My favorite commercial on TV, before they cut it down and edited it for what it is now, was when the guy goes to the cornfield, brings out that brand new Mustang, and here comes Steve McQueen.
From Bullitt.
Yes.
Yeah, because that new Mustang is really pretty cool, and it looks like an old Mustang.
Oh, yeah, and they drive real nice.
A friend of mine asked me, because I was talking cars, a couple weeks ago or something, asked me what I thought of the new Ford 500, and I said, well, all I could tell you was what Money Magazine said. Cleveland, let me see, this is CNN Money Magazine, and they didn't like it, because they said the engine wasn't so hot. It's the old noisy V6, the old Duratec V6. But Ford will readjust that.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the Mustang is going to be a really hot seller, because I think that, it's amazing. I go to bars occasionally where they'll have karaoke, which I don't much care for. And it's amazing how many kids that are 21, 22, 23 are singing Born to Be Wild and Doors songs.
Isn't that funny?
And they're complaining about there's some good new music, but not enough. And I thought, well, and there's some good new cars, some hot-looking vehicles, but not enough. I like the Chrysler 300. But look at the Pontiac GTO. I mean, it's a fast car, but I don't know. It doesn't look like anything special.
I called you a few weeks ago, and I couldn't get through by the time your show was over. Do you know that when the Fiero came out, that was the original conception of bringing the GTO back?
Wow. How wrong-headed was that idea?
Yeah, I mean, I know a guy who works for GM, and I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, that was, I mean, at least the idea they've got now, you know, with rear-wheel drive and a Corvette V8 and all that. That's got a nice interior, and it handles well, but it looks like a Cavalier with a spoiler on the back.
Yeah, but isn't it funny how everything's going back to the conception with rear-wheel drive and the wide track they call it now, where you have the wider wheelbase and everything, and
they used that, Pontiac used that saying for years.
I can't remember what the commercial. It's a GM commercial. I can't remember. And on the commercial, they actually show the car fishtailing.
Yes, this is a closed course, and a professional driver. Don't try this at home.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know, and it's like, my God, that used to be commonplace for, you know, because me and you were about the same age, and that was commonplace for me. Just you punch it, and there you go.
And if you have a heavy enough car, rear-wheel drive is better than front-wheel drive. You wouldn't want a Lincoln Town car with front-wheel drive.
Right.
And if you know how to drive and you've got a big, heavy car, and anybody that's our age or older can cut their teeth probably on rear-wheel drive, I would assume.
Yeah, I did.
And to me, it was always, I don't know if I'm alone in this. Did you ever practice in a parking lot when we got our first snow?
Oh, hell no.
I'd go to a parking lot. I'd practice doing donuts and spinning around the light poles.
I practiced on Lorraine Road.
Oh, well, still, I mean, you practice a little bit just to get back in the swing of things from the year before.
Sure.
Yeah, I had a buddy of mine had I think it was a 69 or 68 Eldorado, and he thought it was really funny to do backwards donuts and then open the passenger window and cover me with snow. He only did that once. Because apparently a front-wheel drive Eldorado, it spins the snow back at you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was the car we used to ride around in, and we had one of those fire extinguishers that you could put water in and then put air pressure in.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd spray kids in the face.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we thought that was fun. But
give me an old 49 Mercury, I'll be happy.
I had a lot of old cars, and I think I'd prefer... I made a list during the week, and I was thinking about some of the top 15 things that are on vehicles now that made a big difference. And I don't know if I'd want a 49 Merc unless it was rebuilt and incorporated some of these other things like...
Well, I mean, I'll take it and chop it down. Give me an old lead sled, I'd be happy.
Let me run this list by you.
Okay.
These are the things I think that are most important that vehicles have nowadays. Power steering, power brakes.
Definitely.
Air conditioning.
Okay.
I mean, just for comfort. I remember cars... A friend of mine, his dad had a 42 Cadillac, and he still has it. It has no heater. You could actually buy a Cadillac with no radio and no heater. Well, you can't do that anymore. Fuel injection. How many times did you go out there with that old car and you had to take the lid off of the air cleaner and spray ether down there?
Well,
I think fuel injection put ether out of business.
Fuel injection was the original, not the conception that it is now, but fuel injection was back in what, 68?
In the 50s.
Version of it.
In the 50s.
They had because they used to have the ports where they just used to shoot into the bowl of the carburetor. Same basic principle, though.
In fact, I also went through in my head a litany of information on the Chrysler letter series from when it started in 1955 through 1965, and I believe it was 1958 that Chrysler, you could get the 300D with the 392 Hemi with Bendix electronic fuel injection, and apparently there's hardly any left now because there was a recall on it because it had set the car on fire. The carburetors, what a pain in the fanny they were. I mean, I know you could work on them, but fuel injection, you don't got to work on unless something goes wrong. The problem is, unless you know what you're doing, and your ASE is certified and all that, you probably would screw it up.
Well, see, I like the days when you could work on cars and you didn't need a basic government approval certificates to do it. I mean, I had an old 72 Buick with a quadrant junk carburetor and all the linkage on it, and I used to take that apart, put it back together when there was problems with it. I mean, I could work on my car. Nowadays, it's just like right now I'm driving an Explorer, and the four-wheel drive kept coming on. It wasn't engaging, but it kept coming on. I couldn't figure out what it was. So I take it to a shop. They put it on the scope and turn around and tell me that all your signals are bad, that all the codes are bad. They got to wipe them out. We'll reload them back in. Oh, come on now.
Disc brakes.
Yes.
Electronic ignition. Mm-hmm. Because you had to take your car in for points and plugs and condenser and cap and rotor every 10,000 or 15 or what, you know.
Not even that much.
Seat belts.
Oh, yeah, seat belts for sure.
Radial tires. You ever drive one of them old cars where they had the bias ply tires and it follows every ridge in the road?
Oh, yeah. Well, no. I had a radial tire that had a shifted belt, and when you got down to about 15, it would just like kind of feel like a bumper car. You'd be bouncing all over the road.
Yeah, the old Firestone 500s. Dual braking system. Everyone that's our age or older has driven a car where if you popped a brake line, you had no brakes at all.
Right.
Emergency flashers. Time was if you broke down with an old car. In fact, until January 1st of, I believe, 1953, they didn't even have turn signals. You didn't have to have turn signals. After that, it became a law. Airbags aren't a bad idea. But here's a big one that no one thinks of. You're driving an old car, I mean a really old car, something from the 40s or 50s or whatever.
Okay.
They didn't have idiot lights. Now, if you don't keep an eye on your gauges, you could get a leak in a radiator hose and be driving along, and the next thing you know, I ruined the engine by the time because you didn't look at the gauges. Right. So idiot lights are very important, even for people that are not idiots. You see a red light come on, it gets your attention right now.
But they are lights for, if I'm not mistaken, GM was more to the lights where when they come on, it's too late, where Ford stayed with the gauges and they can register all that.
Well, I think gauges and lights would be a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to leave off, I had something, the catalytic converter, unleaded gas, screw the environment. But side impact bars are a good idea, so in case you get hit in the door, it doesn't just crash right in. I mean, everyone our age or older has also seen that movie Signal 30. They would show you that in high school, mm-hmm. All the horrible crashes. Before they had collapsible steering columns. When you're doing 35 mile an hour and you hit a tree, the car goes to zero, and you're still doing 35 miles an hour.
Oh, sure.
So you got to stop on the dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think cars are vastly improved than what they used to be. I wish that there were more cars like the new Mustang. I wish there were tons of cars that looked like 60s cars.
Oh, well, that's the marketplace. And who started that, though? When all that retro came back, who started it?
Actually, the Japanese. The Japanese, and they don't sell them here, but I remember reading years ago about little tiny Japanese cars, and they made them look like 50s cars or 60s cars. And they were selling them like crazy, but the problem is you couldn't make them look like 50s or 60s cars and have them meet standards for bumpers and that sort of thing.
Right, but domestically, you started off with, I believe the Prowler started it.
Yeah, and that was a wrong-headed thing too. That Plymouth Prowler. Why did they never put a V8 in it? I mean, nobody wanted to go out and spend that kind of money. And you know why they're making these retro-looking things? They're making these retro-looking cars like 60s Mustangs look and that kind of thing because the market for a Model A is slim to none because the people that drove Model A's in high school are in nursing homes watching TV and drooling and bitching about Roosevelt. And the people that have money now want to go out and buy old muscle cars, or if they can get a brand new car that looks like an old muscle car, that's a great market.
Could you imagine putting a Hemi in that Prowler, though?
I can imagine going out and getting a new Chrysler 300C with a Hemi in it. That was Money Magazine's Car of the Year, 2005.
And the new retro car, because the PT Cruiser made a big splash.
And the PT Cruiser's coming out as a two-door convertible as well.
And I actually looked into those, and then I found out that it had a 47% fatality for a head-on collision. I was like, that's okay. There's basically nothing to them. It's on a neon frame, so there's nothing to them. But the new retro vehicle that's out that is really sharp, and it's not really new, but it's very limited, was the SSR.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff out there. It was interesting what Money Magazine chose for some of this stuff. And it's interesting how some of these new cars, I look like the new Buick LaCrosse. I'm sure it's a nice car, but it just doesn't grab you. You know, the new Buick Terrazza, it's a minivan. Minivans don't grab me at all. The new Cobalt, that doesn't grab me either. The Chevy Equinox, that doesn't grab me. The Dodge Magnum station wagon, now that grabs you. You got to have eyeball.
Yeah, I like the new Magnum. I liked the new Thunderbird when it came out, but it's pretty much priced out of the market for the average guy.
Yeah, and the problem with the Thunderbird is for that kind of money you can buy a Corvette.
Yeah, and I don't even, you know what, I don't like the new Corvettes. I didn't like them since the 63 Splitback, so.
Well, I like the new Corvettes, but I wouldn't buy one. I don't like cars you have to fold yourself into, and you sit at street level, and then you have to crawl back out of.
Yeah, you have to take a loan pretty much every time you want to take it out of the garage to drive it, for the most part.
Czar, I got to run.
Okay.
I'll talk to you later.
All right, Rick.
All right, yeah. Well, save your pennies and go out and buy... breaking news. Inflatable Spongebob SquarePants figures have been swiped from the roofs of Burger Kings in New York, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Maine, Tennessee, and Utah. In some cases, a ransom note was left. Burger King is running a Spongebob promotion in connection with a new movie. The show's on the top of the... Wow. That show's on the top of the cable Nielsen ratings. Can you say fad? It's like the pet rock. Police admit that stealing SpongeBob may seem funny, but it's still a crime. They don't think the thefts at the locations are connected. I always liked when people would steal something like that, and then they'd leave a ransom note. Thought it was... and then... I always thought it would have been an interesting idea if you had something like that. Like if you stole a big boy from in front of the old big boys, and then you cut off a finger and said, "There's more to come if they don't send us the ransom." I think it's funny, but it'd probably get the FBI involved, and then all of a sudden it's not so funny. Jim, you're on the air.
Hey, you were talking about fire extinguishers and cruising around. Unusual. We used to do that also. Don't hear that much. But I called about an old car I had, not the old one, but the first car I had at 16 was just an old boat, Pontiac Catalina.
Yeah. What year?
1970.
Well, that's, yeah,
boat,
that's a big boat. Did you have bad ball joints on it, too?
I don't think I did. No, I didn't. That wasn't a problem. I had other problems. Just had a 400 motor in it, 4-barrel and glass packs.
Right.
But that was just good for, letting the neighbors know you were there late at night.
Yeah, you'd back rap. You'd go...
But the main thing I called, I don't know much about cars. I just kind of drive old beaters. And the main thing I called was we used to do that in Toledo. That was just hilarious with the fire extinguisher. But if you did that today, my kids would probably get busted.
Probably, and I remember clearly it was cold out, and a kid had a parka on, one of those ones where you zip it all the way up, and you couldn't see his face. All you could see was this hole in the hood, and we pulled up, and I said, "Excuse me, can you tell me how to get to so-and-so street?" And he approached the car, and I let rip with this fire extinguisher, and it was freezing cold out. Looking back on it, I certainly wouldn't want to have that happen to me, but at the time, it seemed like a fun thing to do.
Yeah, but you were inside the car, so...
Well, yeah, we were inside where it was nice and warm.
Right.
Unless I was driving my Volkswagen Beetle or a Corvair.
Yep. So I just appreciate the memory. Thank you.
All right, you're more than welcome. Did you ever drive a Volkswagen Beetle? An original Beetle, not one of the new Beetles. One of the Beetles that had no heat. And you'd have to carry a piece of, like an old credit card or a window scraper. Not to do the outside, to do the inside. Yeah, a great idea, and they'd fly through the snow, but I don't know, other than that. Triple Doppler forecast from TV3 meteorologist Betsy Kling. Tonight, cloudy, upper 20s, currently 37 degrees in Cleveland, 37. I remind you, at the top of the hour, after the 10 o'clock news and coverage of what in the world's happening, you will hear the Drudge Report live here on Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100. Dan, you're on the air.
Hey, Gilly, enjoy your show.
Thanks.
Hey, you know what? Talking about old cars, it just reminded me of when I took my driver's test. I took my driver's test in a 1968 Electra 225, and we actually had to parallel park.
Oh, yeah, back in the old days, you had to know how to do that. People today don't know how.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is the only way I could park that thing was when I turned my head and I looked through the back passenger window up, right up right above, maybe an inch away from where, you know, there'd be like a little hook to put your hangers.
Yeah.
Stuff. I had like a little pencil mark, and as soon as I had the back pole lined up with that pencil mark, I knew to turn the wheel. You know what I mean? Because I basically, that car was like a boat. I basically had a clearance of maybe like 6 inches in the back and 6 inches in the front.
Yeah, I learned how to drive, how to parallel park very well because I went to Fairview High School in the mornings, and then I went to Lakewood for vocational auto mechanics in the afternoon. And people on bunts really don't want to wait for you to fiddle around to try and get the car out of the way while they're coming up the road.
Yeah, and my dad told me if you can drive this car, you can drive any car, and he was so right because I was so huge, but it was relatively easy to drive. If you can figure that out, I don't know, but
a friend of mine had a '68. I think it was a Les Sabre. I don't think it was an Electra. And we took it to the county fairgrounds in Berea for the demo derby.
Yep.
And I filled the trunk up with cement because I thought that'd make it stronger. It seemed like a good idea. Well, the cars back then rusted out. All it took was one hit, and all the cement fell out, and he ended up not winning. But
I think my favorite car. But at the time I was really young, but I remember going to the Pontiac dealership to pick it up with my dad. He got a Pontiac Star Chief. That was the model just below the Bonneville.
Yeah, but that was like a 63?
I think it was a 60. I couldn't drive, obviously. I was a little one, but I just remember the name Star Chief. It was a cool car.
It's funny how names go away, like Oldsmobile.
Yeah.
I think Olds will be back. I could be mistaken, but I think they might come back as a hybrid vehicle.
Yeah, I don't know. Now, did they say that a lot of the Oldsmobile, like engineering and stuff like that, was going to sort of like shift towards like Saturn or something like that?
Maybe. I don't know. All I know is that the people that are worried about going out and buying an Oldsmobile because you won't be able to get parts for them, pish posh. They share so many parts with other GMs. Go ahead and buy one if you want one. They're not going to be able to be impossible to get parts for because you're not going to keep it for 25 years anyway.
You know, but like when you think about it, like, why does all the cool stuff, you know, like for instance, like Chrysler's coming out like in the vans and this stow and go system, you know, which I think I got a family now and we got a Chevy Venture, but the thing about that stow and go is nice is that if, you know, you just the seats fold, you know, nicely into the like a well into the frame of the car and all that, but it's like I think Toyota or Honda, I think the Sienna or whatever, they've had that for years. Why does it take Detroit so long to come up with a... And I'm not even sure if GM even has any type of stow-and-go system. You know what I mean?
I'm just interested to see these new vehicles and think, why did it take so long for anybody to even think of the idea? Don't these people get paid big money to sit around and scratch their heads and go, gee, this will look good?
It always seems Detroit's always a couple of years behind some of the innovative ideas that, you know, that Japan or Germany, they always seem to...
Maybe our engineers are dumb. We have to steal this stuff from the Japanese.
I don't know. But, and anyway, hey, what's your opinion of these hybrid cars, just out of curiosity?
Well, I think it's the wave of the future. Since we're in these post-peak oil production times, I think that we're going to have to do something. Eventually, we're going to run out of oil. How about this for an idea? I mentioned these a while back, but I never really got to them in depth. Have you seen the new Scions?
You know, I've heard of it. Is that it's the car? It sort of looks like a box, right?
Well, there's the Scion XB. That's the one that's real boxy.
Okay.
And then there's the Scion XA, which is less boxy. And then there's the Scion TC, which is a two-door. But these vehicles were come up with by Toyota for the skateboard crowd, for young buyers. And they've already got suspension packages and sound systems and everything before the vehicles even came out. Why did it take somebody so long to go, you know, there's people out there that want a brand new car that can't afford to spend $40,000, and this is perfect for them. I mean, these cars were marketed before they were hyped before they were even on the drawing board, I think.
Yeah, you know that I took a look at that Honda Element when it first came out, and telling you that thing at first it looked kind of goofy, but boy, when I sat in it, looked at it, and said, you know, I mean, it had possibilities. I didn't buy it, but I could see why people would like something like that. You know, it was put together very nice.
Well, I'll give you my impression. If the one thing that I sat in, because I'm 6'3" with size 12 shoes, the one thing that I could fit in with headroom and legroom in front and rear, and you could fold down all kinds of stuff, was the Toyota Matrix, and or if you're American buying only,
the Vibe, right?
The Vibe. And they're put together on the Lexus line in Canada, and they are put together by computer, so the fit and finish is damn near perfect.
Wow, I mean, you're talking about the vibes or the Matrix?
The Matrix and the Vibe.
No kidding.
Yeah, and the fit and finish is excellent, and there's room inside of them. And that's a big deal to me because I go to the auto show every year, and when I get in a really expensive car, a Cadillac or a Lincoln or something, and I think, well, you know, other people are going to be riding in this thing, perhaps, not just me, and I can't put my shoes in the back floor, because I can't get my feet in and out, well, that's not very practical.
That's amazing that those cars, I mean, you're a pretty tall guy. It's amazing you'd have ample room in that type of car.
Well, what they do now, and why did it take forever to come up with that idea either, was they take, even the Chevy Aveo. Aveo was essentially a Daewoo. Chevy bought Daewoo or Daewoo or whatever.
Okay.
But the vehicle was designed around 4 seats. Here's 4 seats. Now design a vehicle around it so that you can fit. And that's a better idea than saying, okay, let's make a body and then try and cram people inside the thing.
Yep, I hear you.
And that's the way they used to do it. But then again, like American cars of the 60s were so large for the most part, you didn't have to worry about that. I mean, look at that Buick Electra you were talking about. I mean, you could have a dance floor in the back seat.
That was a classic, you know, and I had that at school my last year when I was in college, and oh man, people thought it was great. We'd go on double dates, even triple dates. You could fit, geez, basically the whole dorm floor in that thing. It was
Dan,
huge.
I got to run.
All right, thanks.
Thanks for the memories. Yeah, I remember a buddy of mine had a 65 or 6 Pontiac Catalina. I think we snuck 3 of us into the drive-in movie in the trunk. And nobody was bumping into each other, because you don't want to do that, do you? 3 dudes stuck in a trunk. Next thing you know, Mike Trivisonno will be calling to ask if this purse in front of me meant I went gay. No, I did not. This is my bag o' tricks. I need it for my job. More of the program, more of your phone calls after important words coverage of what in the world's happening on Cleveland's only news radio. I'm Rick Gilmour, the thinking man's friend. This is WTAM 1100.
Continuing coverage on Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100.
At least 2 are dead in a Colorado plane crash. Good evening, I'm Cliff Bakley, and this is the 9:30 report on News Radio WTAM 1100. Details coming up. Channel 3 triple Doppler weather. Here's meteorologist Betsy Kling.
Temperatures across the area headed into the mid to upper 20s overnight tonight with partly to mostly cloudy skies.
Currently 36 degrees at your official weather station, News Radio WTAM 1100. NBC Sports Chief Dick Ebersol has survived a small plane crash, but one of his sons is reportedly missing. The crash in southwestern Colorado killed at least 2 others and seriously injured 3, including Ebersol and one of his sons. The 2 victims were the pilot and co-pilot. NBC says Ebersol's wife, actress Susan St. James, was not on board. Jesse Jackson's among those complaining about Ohio's presidential election. Jackson told a rally in Columbus the Ohio Supreme Court should consider setting aside Bush's win in Ohio and that Congress should investigate how Ohioans voted. It's being billed as the party of the year. Cleveland city leaders hope it'll kick off a downtown revival. Actor Dan Aykroyd among the celebrities opening the Music Palace House of Blues at 4th and Euclid.
It's just amazing what's been done. Here you had an area that had a little bit of urban blight going on and abandoned retail spaces, and an area that a few years ago looked as if it could be written off and demolished.
The city hopes it'll spur commercial growth to fill the vacant storefronts in that part of downtown. The Reverend Richard Land, president of the Southern Baptist Convention's public policy arm, told NBC's Meet the Press if Roe v. Wade is overturned, it'll go back to the states to decide abortion policy.
I would prosecute the doctors, and we're ready to battle that out in every state and let the people's elected representatives make those decisions, not people in black robes.
The Browns lost a shootout in Cincinnati with the Bengals, 58-48. I'm Cliff Bakley on Cleveland's only news radio, WTAM 1100.
Continuing coverage coming up at the top of the hour. Breaking news as it happens. News Radio WTAM 1100.
This is Bill Wills for the Sleep Number bed from Select Comfort. How great does it feel to get a good night's sleep? Well, you'll know every morning if you have a Sleep Number bed by Select Comfort. If you're waking up with a sore back, if you're tossing and turning all night long, if your arms and legs are numb, you're changing sleep positions, you need a new mattress. You need to get to the Select Comfort store and see for yourself what this bed is all about. The Sleep Number bed. It's a cushion of air that's under your body all night long, adjusted to the exact firmness that you want with a remote control. And the Select Comfort Comfort mattresses come with a 20-year limited warranty. Matter of fact, take one home and try it for 30 nights. Now's a great time, too, because through Monday, November 29th, you can take advantage of no interest and no payments for 18 months on the most popular Sleep Number bed models. Get by a Select Comfort store at Beechwood Place, South Park Center, Great Lakes Mall, and the Great Northern Mall. The Sleep Number bed by Select Comfort.
There's something you should know about me. I believe in equality, regardless of race, gender, or age. If you have no voice, I am there. If you cannot stand, I am there. If you are lost or confused, I am there. I am there to hurt, paralyze, or kill. I am a stroke.
Recognize the symptoms of a stroke and act quickly. To learn more about stroke, call 1-888-4STROKE or simply log on to strokeassociation.org, because time lost is brain lost. A message from Penny Marshall. This public service announcement brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Paul Harvey News. You must be thrilled from the instant you turn it on. Absolutely thrilled.
8:30 a.m. in the midday report at 11:30, and the rest of the story at 3.
Prepare to be thrilled
on WTAM 1100.
RICK GILMOUR.
The space aliens have more or less landed. They kept our power on during Y2K.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. They're our friends.
On News Radio WTAM 1100.
And I was reading a story about evangelist Billy James Hargis, fervent anti-communist who once conceived a plan to float Bible verses behind the Iron Curtain in balloons, died in Oklahoma at age 79. In 1950, Hargis founded the Christian Crusade, whose motto was "For Christ and Against Communism." The IRS later removed its tax-exempt status for mixing religion and politics. He's also a founder of the David Livingston Missionary Foundation, operated hospitals, orphanages, leprosy villages. He had a broadcast ministry that spanned some 40 years, and he introduced each broadcast with, "Jesus Christ is still the hope of the world." Scandal threatened to destroy his ministry in 1976 when Time magazine reported he'd had sex with students at his Tulsa-based American Christian college. He denied it. What is it with these evangelists? They can't keep their pants on? Wasn't that the problem with Jim Bakker and Jimmy Swaggart? Didn't they find Jimmy Swaggart with women's underpants under his front seat of his car? What's up with these people? Is it a southern thing? Would you consider Oklahoma a southern state? I consider it kind of a western state. But I think it's an evangelist thing. I'm sure some folks might argue that. That's how I feel about it. These people just, well, so much for it anyway. May he rest in peace. Rick, you're on the air.
Hi, Rick.
Howdy.
Hey, you know what? I listen to you every night if you'd be on. You need a permanent gig. You really do.
You know, if I were on every night, I'd do the program.
Listen, to keep this general, I work for a Global 5 company that manufactures automotives.
You're the guy that had to put your Akita down.
Yeah, I'm one of those.
Okay.
You know, I listen to these conversations you have about cars. It's difficult for Detroit to make decisions when they're in forced retreat. It's difficult to back up and keep shooting and actually make some ground. People have thought of many, many different things. I work in a facility where we're paying royalties to another company, an American company, for a fastening process on parts to keep this general. We're so consumed with making money that we don't see the rug's just getting tore out from underneath us. There's kids driving foreign cars. There's new and innovative things being done on our soil. and we're so consumed with taking over the market and reinventing the Taurus or the Model T. You know, we want to hit one out of the park. And while we're thinking about just hitting one over the fence, we're losing it. We're losing it. There's plenty of great products. There's plenty of great ideas. But we want it all.
So instead of getting back at the beanballing pitcher by sharpening your spikes and hitting a little blooper to first to get him to cover the bag and then spike him, we're trying to knock one right out of the park and not be a team player.
Well, sure. Slow and steady. I mean, Toyota was a joke. It was an embarrassment to see somebody driving one of those. And I'm approximately your age. Now, that's all a kid wants when he graduates.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I remember my dad bought a 69 Toyota Corona. Literally, within a number of years, the front fenders fell off. Had to get fenders for it because they rotted out so quickly. You were right, Toyotas were a joke.
And we've bred that into ourselves. We want to be the best and the flashiest, and we just want to move, and we're so far behind the curve on some things. Everything's been thought of. Everything's been planned out. It's just execute the plan. Do it. I'm on a major vehicle launch right now. They're selling faster than we can make them. I'm working 84 hours a week. But you know what? If that doesn't work, God knows.
Maybe we need to adopt something. I mean, I'm sure you're in the auto industry. You've heard about, say, when you're in Japan and your Toyota breaks, they'll come and get it. They'll take it to the dealership. They'll fix it. And they'll bring it back to you and apologize.
And don't mess with it. You know, the company I work for, if we could just sell cars for around $22,000, if we could just do that, people would buy them. We're always on to the next big thing, and bigger and flashier, and those Mustang ads are great. Matter of fact, it's taken content, it's taken work away from people that I know, because okay, I'll give a little bit of it up. The Mustang is not built in a Ford plant. It's built in a joint venture with Auto Alliance, which is Mazda. You hear that spinning sound? That's Henry Ford just bonkers.
Old pinwheel Hank flipping around in his grave.
They're actually selling more of those than Mazda 6s and the rest of it. What in the world have we come to?
Well,
what is going on?
It's the global economy.
Well,
they're making Buick engines in China. And, you know, Ford owns part of Mazda. Doesn't GM own part of Toyota? I mean, everybody seems to own part of everybody else.
But I don't own... The company I work for has got no plants in Japan. That's not allowed. It's simply not allowed. And the funny part of it is, the people that are movers and shakers over in Japan, they're driving Lincolns, they're driving Navigators, they're driving really cool products that are produced by the company I work for, but we can't manufacture there. We're going about this wrong.
Well, yeah, you're right, because if you look at it, it's kind of sad in another regard as well, in that we're happy now to have Honda plants and Toyota plants in this country because it puts people to work. They'd much rather be building Hondas or Toyotas than not working at all. But think back on that mentality. Think back to the 1960s. You think that'd fly?
No. And the funny thing is, the people that are working down in Marysville probably got laid off from the company that I work for in around 76, and they're happy to be working for a little bit less. That's pitiful. We've made a mistake.
I'm just considering what I've said in the past about perhaps it's the union's fault.
I'm not sure about that.
I mean, do you have to make $20 an hour to put together a Ford?
No, you don't. I mean, you could argue that a couple of ways. I mean, unionism, like communism, it assumed that the whole world was going to be the same. I don't know. I'm not sure what the answer is. But I know absolutely positively that if you don't do it right, people aren't going to buy it. And if you don't do it quick, in a timely fashion, and present it in the right way, you're in trouble.
Yeah, it just bothers me because I think of this like taxes. Once they put a new tax on you, Rick, when was the last time they ever decided to take that tax away? No. So once we change the auto industry to where it's that global plantation, we're merely slaves, and we're more than thrilled to build products that the money goes back to another country, we're not going to change it back.
We've got to do it now. We've got to quit chasing what's going to be the home run, what's going to knock it out of the park. No, maybe that's not the answer. We got to be just better right now. Maybe not take over the world. We just got to be a little bit nicer. We got to work a little bit harder and just incremental steps. incremental steps. That's the key to this whole thing, because that's all the Japanese ever did to us. If you think about it, in the 50s they weren't here, in the 60s they arrived, in the 70s they were pieces of crap, in the 80s everybody was going, well, that's not too bad. In the 90s they were selling like crazy, and now they're building all over the place. A little bit at a time.
Yep, baby steps.
Take care.
All right, I'll see you. Well, I think Rick's right. If you want to make a baseball analogy, I always said that was the problem with Jim Thome. Did Jim Thome strike you as a team player, or did he strike you as someone that just wanted to hit one out of the park? Hit one out of the park. How many home runs can he hit? Well, when you're playing on a team that maybe it's a team. And I think the problem, because I've spoken with other people from auto companies that I will leave them nameless. But to try to impress upon your management in an auto company that you might have an idea that they might want to hear, forget it. They don't want to hear it. My father worked for the federal government for 35 years. He was an aerospace mechanic. The engineers would come to him, and they'd say, here, build this. And he'd look at it, and he probably should have gone to college, then he would have been an engineer. He'd look at it and he'd say, this is not going to work. Build it. He'd build it just the way the engineers had it all planned out, and it wouldn't work. So the engineers would have to work a little harder to design something that actually would operate properly. And it didn't make him a real popular fella. And there's pay levels when you work for the government. G9, G10, G11, G12, blah, blah, blah. And I remember talking with a friend of his after he retired. He says, you know, your father retired with a pay level about 4 levels below what it should have been. Because the engineers didn't like him. Because he was right. You're supposed to be punished for... Wouldn't it have saved the engineers a lot of time? If they would have just said, oh, it won't work? Oh, well, gee, maybe you're right. Let's go back and fiddle this a little more. Because I really don't think there were that small a time parameters when you work for the government. If anybody knows how to waste time and spend money, it's the U.S. government. That didn't make them very popular, apparently. And maybe that's the problem with the auto industry. Maybe there's fine engineers out there that want to design a product, and the upper echelon poo-poo it. And you see all kinds of wild designs put together by engineers, and I think it's gotten shot down by the bean counters. Well, harumph, that won't work. In the meanwhile, we get a pay raise. I ever tell you some of the stories about... Do you ever read a book called On a Clear Day You Can See General Motors by John DeLorean? He talked about how the president of GM would travel with his own refrigerator. Whenever they'd go to a convention or a meeting, the refrigerator had to go into the hotel room. Not just any refrigerator, it had to be his refrigerator stocked with all the food he wanted. And they went to a hotel once where the refrigerator wouldn't fit. So GM paid to have a crane brought in, knock out an outside wall, put the refrigerator in on the 6th floor, or whatever floor it was, brick the wall back up, and then when the meeting was over, a few days later, knock out the wall, take said refrigerator back out, and pay to brick up the wall. Talk about wasting cash. WTAM 1100, you're on the air.
I'm on the air?
You are.
Hey, how you doing? My name's Jim.
Hi, Jim. What's on your mind? Don't listen to your radio. Hey, hang it in my ear, would you? What, did Jim just want to call to talk to my producer? He didn't want to be on the air? Why would you call a radio station if you don't want to be on the air? Wouldn't you assume that they would put you on the air? Like, Bob, you're on the air.
Yeah, I'll be on the air. I'll take his place.
Sure, well, you're on.
Hey, have you been...
Now, when you called this radio station, you assumed you were going to be on the air.
Well, sooner or later, if not, depending on how your time goes.
Maybe I pulled the rug out from underneath that guy. He's just a little...
Maybe he had to go to the bathroom bad.
Maybe. Should have thought about that before he picked up the phone.
Hey, have you been following the news this election in the Ukraine?
Not a lot, to tell you the truth. That's not the Ukraine, it's just Ukraine.
Yeah, Ukraine. I mean, I've been reading it, and it's the exact situation that we've had in our last two elections, but the way they work it differently is they're going to revote the whole thing over again.
Well, perhaps they have a lot fewer people voting. I mean, that would be a lengthy process, wouldn't it, for us to have to do that?
Well, I don't think so. Why would it be if it just takes a day?
Well, we don't have any problem with this election. I mean, there was a 3.5 million vote margin.
Well, they're saying that there was a lot of voting fraud and abuse, and
oh, you mean the provincial ballots?
Well, those plus. See, over in the Ukraine, they had the same problem we had.
It's just Ukraine.
They had people waiting for 3 hours to vote, and problems with the machines. And that's what we had here. We had problems with the machines, not enough machines, and people were waiting 3 or 4 hours to vote and didn't get to vote.
Well, listen for your response on the air. I mean, if you want to go back to something as aged as and ancient as the Kennedy-Nixon runoff in 1960. You know what Kennedy's winning margin was? 118,000 votes. Now, don't you think if that happened nowadays, people would be screaming, fraud! Recount! Fraud! Was there fraud back then? Absolutely. There's always been fraud. Would you have rather had, think about that, would you have rather had Nixon in 1960? I don't know about that. Again, I get more email from people that want to know, what's that thing? What's that thing that you play at the end of the program about Kennedy? Tape the program. Do some legwork. Go on the internet and search for motorcade. Took me a long while to find it because I couldn't remember the title of it. The person that does it, you've never heard of. And then we put together our own after my dog had to get put down, I guess a parody of it called The Gravy Train Sped On. So I figured I'd play them both for you. First, I'll give you your triple Doppler forecast from TV3 meteorologist Betsy Kling tonight. Low in the upper 20s, but at least the wind will cool down a little bit out there, not so windy. That makes it feel like it's in the teens, but not tonight. In the upper 20s. Tomorrow, clouds and sun. Look for it quick. Lower 40s, currently 37 degrees in Cleveland, 37 degrees. And I remind you, after the top of the hour coverage of what in the world's happening and all that, you will get the Drudge Report live. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, this whole voter fraud thing. It seems to be a fad. It seems to be the election de rigueur. Scream and yell fraud. I think W. Bush won this fair and square with the 3.5 million. You know, even if, and I didn't vote for him, I did once, not twice. But I consider that. If you have a large enough margin, sit down and shut up, you lost, okay? Why don't you think ahead 4 years and try to come up with a more electable candidate? That's the Democrats' problems. If John Kerry was the best they could do, and then somebody said to me, oh, that was the dirtiest election campaign ever. Well, he just slammed Bush constantly. I said, what about the Swift boats? That was slamming on both sides. Think back to 1964 in Goldwater and the bomb with the little girl picking the flower. It's the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. It's the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. That TV commercial got LBJ elected. And the radio program sped on.
Where were you on November 22nd, 1963?
And now, here's Johnny. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your...
Just a moment. We have a bulletin coming in.
Here is a bulletin from CBS News.
Stand by, please. Stand by, please.
In Dallas, Texas,
It appears as though something has happened in the motorcade route.
Ich bin ein Berliner.
3 shots were fired.
Put me on, Phil. Put me on.
3.
Put me on, Phil. Put me on.
3. President Kennedy has been seriously wounded. 5 this shooting.
Stand by, please. Stand by, please.
The president was hit in the head. He grabbed himself and he slumped down. The president was hit in the head. He grabbed himself and he slumped down.
Stand by, please. Stand by, please.
More details just arrived. Mrs. Kennedy jumped up. She called, "Oh no. Oh no.
The energy.
Oh no.
The faith.
Oh no.
The devotion.
Oh no." The motorcade sped on.
Something has happened here. We understand there has been a shooting. Something has happened here. I can see many, many motorcycles. We understand there has been a shooting. Many, many police officers. Mrs. Kennedy's pink suit. Something has happened here. We understand there has been a shooting. We can't see who has been hit. If anybody's been hit, something is wrong here. Something is terribly wrong.
More details just arrived. Mrs. Kennedy jumped up. She called, "Oh no. Oh no.
The energy.
Oh no.
The faith.
Oh no.
The devotion.
Oh no." The motorcade sped on.
The world is very different now.
The flash, apparently official. The flash, apparently official. President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. He's dead all right.
We are the heirs of that first revolution.
There is a prisoner. There is a prisoner. Wearing a black sweater. This is the man who killed President Kennedy.
You have anything to say in your defense? Oswald has a shot. Oswald has a shot. Dangling, his hand is dangling over the edge of the stretcher. Dangling, his hand is dangling over the edge of the stretcher.
He's dead all right. He's dead all right.
Jack Ruby. Jack Ruby. He runs the carousel club. Here is the ambulance.
More details just arrived. Mrs. Kennedy jumped up. She called, "Oh no. Oh no.
The energy.
Oh no.
The faith.
Oh no.
The devotion.
Oh no." The motorcade sped on. More details just arrived. Mrs. Kennedy jumped up. She called, "Oh no. Oh no.
The energy.
Oh no.
The faith.
Oh no.
The devotion.
Oh no. The motorcade sped on.
The faith. The faith.
Where were you on October 6th, 2004?
And now, here's Stella.
Bark not when you're hungry and when you want food. Bark, 'cause food will do when you're hungry.
Just a moment. Just a moment. We have a bulletin coming in.
Here is a bulletin from APL News.
Sit down, please. Sit down, please.
Something has happened on the gravy train route. On the gravy train route.
Ich bin ein German Shepherd.
One shot was injected.
Put me down, Doc, put me down. Put me down, Doc, put me down.
Stella the dog has been mortally wounded by this shooting. Sit down, please. Sit down, please.
More details just arrived. Mr. Gilmore jumped up. He called, "No, no. No, no. No, no.
The food.
No, no.
The dinner ball.
No, no.
The commotion.
No, no. The gravy train sped on.
Rick's world is very different now.
Stella died at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Time.
dead all right.
Time.
She's dead all right.
More details just arrived. Mr. Gilmore jumped up. He called no, no. The gravy train sped on.
The commotion. The commotion.